Welcome friends to another r/malicious compliance video. If you want to help support me, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. Our first story of the day is by Sato-san. Won't fix your buggy software that cost us thousands of dollars per year? Fine, pay our bills then. I'm the AV supervisor for a large company that hosts events. Specifically, I look after quotes for the technical side of corporate events, giving clients access to projectors, microphones, speakers, etc. for their large corporate presentations, meetings, and whatnot. I also manage and brief the floor crew who actively run the events. We use a program to book our equipment which, while powerful, is a bit laggy on the average computer and is also extremely expensive per year. About $2,000 per user per year, and there's 30 of us in the company that use it. Relative to how much our company makes per year, it's a pretty hefty cost. It's a good program when leveraged properly, but sometimes it can drive you mad with its weird way of doing things. One important feature of the program is that it tracks the booking of all equipment everywhere, including time for packing it into a room and packing it out of the room. This is useful because it prevents our team from overbooking equipment. If it's not available, the system won't let you book it. There's no way around that. If I'm short on equipment, I can book extra equipment from another rental company and on-charge that to the client, when I know in advance that I need to do that. Anyway, cue big presentation from the booking company showing their latest version of the booking software. It's great, it's faster, it's better than ever. We have a busy week come up and I'm flat out floored with paperwork, pulling a 60-hour week. Our company's fantastic with overtime. We don't get overtime pay, but we do get time in lieu. Our bosses are totally cool about it. So if I work 1 hour overtime, I get 1 hour off the following week. Do a 60-hour week and you get 20 hours off later. Anyway, one of my floor crew comes to me and says, "Hey OP, this equipment isn't available. We've already got it out on another event." I say, "What? It should be available." They say, "No, it's definitely not. I just set it up for another event 2 hours ago, and that event is running for 3 days. Cue me running back to my desk and rechecking all my paperwork. FYI, equipment lists going out for events is often over 100 lines long, hence why we don't do manual checks for overbookings. The system should do it. As it turns out, all our equipment was overbooked multiple times. In many cases, overbooked on 3 events or more. I make multiple phone calls to rental companies and bring in rental equipment on short notice. That's expensive, and I can't charge it to the client on such short notice. If you took our expected profits for that week, you could add a negative symbol onto the front and that'd be our new profit. I log a job with the company that makes our booking software and then proceed to double check all our upcoming events. Oh boy, a lot of overbooked equipment. Note, these events are often independently created by multiple people at different times of the year. There's no way they'd themselves check if the equipment was available. It's just not feasible. Hence why we rely on the system that, up until now, worked. The booking software company is extremely dismissive, saying that it's a rare glitch and that they'd look into it. Cue 1 month later and still no fix. I'm now spending significantly more time double checking all our events for overbooking. The booking software company still doesn't care about a smallish company like us. Frustrated, I ask my boss for a copy of our service agreement with the company. He's as annoyed with the situation as I am, so we go through it together. Turns out there's a clause in there saying that the booking company would provide compensation in the event of total system failure, in the event that the system can't be accessed. Well, we'd definitely call this a system failure, of sorts. Its failure is costing us a lot of money. So we send the bills of all our rentals that cover overbookings to the booking software company. That gets their attention quickly when the total bill amounts to more than triple how much they make off us each year. The booking software company says, "Hey OP, what's with these bills?" I say, "Here's the job reference you still haven't responded to after 2 months now, and here's the link between each rental and each event that's overbooked." The booking software company says, there's no way the system's letting you overbook equipment, and you can't send the bills to us for every event that's overbooked." I share my screen and say, "Alright, let's test it." The booking software company shares their screen as well, logging into our version of the booking system. They proceed to book some equipment that should 100% not be available. True to their word, the system doesn't let them do it. I then book the exact same equipment on the exact same event, but from my computer. My boss's witness, the system lets me do it without any alarm. This surprises them and they start talking about potential fixes. They also say they're willing to pay for the rentals up until now. 2 months later, we're still billing them for every rented equipment, they're still paying without questioning, and we still don't have a fix. I've changed the procedures to check for overbooked equipment though, so we aren't running around like madmen trying to fix things last minute anymore. The situation they're in now, where they're still not getting any properly working service from the software, makes me wish they were even a little bit more petty and kept sending them bills anyways. If you were in OP's shoes, would you want to keep sending them bills until they actually fixed this thing? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Curry P4N. Brown noser doesn't like me or my role. I saw a similar post about a brown noser who loves to police other people's time, and it reminded me of my story. So a few years back, I worked in a lab in a small employee-owned metal plating shop. Now this was my first time in an employee-owned shop, and I wasn't prepared for the pettiness that I had to endure for 6 months before I quit and found a better position. A little background for those of you who have no experience in a lab. When running samples, time just goes by. Some samples take 10 minutes and others take upwards of an hour. Now, this shop had very strict hours for break and lunch. There was even a bell, like a darn school. Anyway, I wasn't restricted to these bells because, like I said, sample time varies. And my role was to make sure manufacturing doesn't stop because of issues. Also, important note, I was the only qualified chemist on site of about 100 people. Yeah. I also overhauled their entire quality system to pass audits, but lunch is what they focus on. So onto the story. One day manufacturing was just crap. I'm one person testing 6 tanks because the solution wasn't plating. From 5 a.m. to 3 p.m., I was troubleshooting by myself because, like I said, I'm the only chemist, so I didn't need lunch. Anyway, at around 3:30 p.m., things quiet down and I eat my first meal of the day. Then suddenly out of the corner of my eye, I see someone taking my picture. Of course, I can get an earful from management saying I have to take lunch when the bell rings. Onto the malicious compliance. Anytime I got a sample in around 10 or 11 a.m., I strictly measured the time it would have taken me to finish said test. I would also do it very slowly and carefully. If I got a sample in at 11:30 a.m., I would tell my boss, "Sorry, this takes me an hour to do and lunch is in 30 minutes. I'll do it after my lunch break." After a few days of this, there was a day where manufacturing was bad. I just waited until after lunch. Guess who got permission to eat lunch whenever I wanted? I quit soon after with a job that paid $10,000 more a year, with full benefits and a new renovated lab. Don't you love that you were working at a place that expected so much special work from you, but was also so rigid and not wanting to work with you at all? Come on, you gotta follow the rules just like everyone else here, buddy. It's like, do you not realize that I'm the one holding this place together? That I don't have the flexibility to just drop what I'm doing at any given time? Well, they learned one way or another. Our next story is by Medium Proof 7304. Manager doesn't like my playlist? Fine, I'll change it. So I work for a certain company with the same name as a rainforest in South America. The managers usually ask me to hook up my playlist to the Bluetooth speaker, and as long as it's clean and edited, I can play whatever I want. Usually when things are getting rough on the floor, I play early 2000s hip-hop to get everyone in the mood, which works all the time. There's one manager who comes in later on in the shift who always complains about my music, even though any cuss words are bleeped out. The fact that you can hear it bleeped out is still not good enough for her. So one day after listening to In Da Club by 50 Cent, I hear on the radio her calling me out to change it to something clean or there will be no music. Not clean enough? Okay. So I put Disney music on next and respond, "Is this okay?" "Perfect," she responds. 10 minutes later, calls me back on the radio to put on the old playlist after 15 people complained to her about the music. That was last week, and since then, she hasn't called me out on it again. P.S. The first 2 songs, Let's Get Down to Business and A Girl Worth Fighting For from Mulan, absolutely slayed. After that, people were like, "Alright, cut that crap out." It's one thing to go from "Let's get down to business," and then the very next song's like, "Let it go, let it go." I can't imagine a bunch of people moving around, grabbing packages, putting things in boxes, wanting to listen to too much Disney radio. Unless you have the specific taste for Disney radio, you're probably going to upset the general population. And our final story of the day is by Ember Jelly. So you think you can feed a family on $150 per month? Several years ago, my ex-husband, our son and I, pregnant, lived in a fairly well-off town. We weren't rich or even middle class at the time, more like upper low class living in a low-class apartment. He thought he was good with money, but he really wasn't. He has ideas because his dad is an accountant, but he has no actual practical knowledge. I knew we were on a budget and for the most part agreed to keeping down the cost of most of the expenses. The only exception in my eyes was the food budget. I would try to spend $600 a month on food for the 3.5 of us, and this was still what I considered on the low end. For example, a friend of ours, just a couple with no dependents, would spend $800 to $900 on groceries, while my ex-in-laws would spend $1,200 to $1,500 on groceries for 3 to 4 people. We had a young child and a baby on the way. Cutting food out wasn't an option. Kid's hungry, kid needs to eat. As a pregnant woman, I did eat for my child and I, but I didn't splurge on treats for my cravings, and that my financially anal ex-husband would be upset if I ate away our food budget due to a craving. My ex-husband would frequently complain over several years how we would spend too much money on groceries. He mentioned a couple of times per month that $600 per month was too much. We needed to reduce our food budget to $150 a month. I tried to show him grocery receipts. I tried showing him flyers and online ads. He still maintained that we could survive off $150 in groceries each month. He was adamant. He was sure. He was positive that I was just making things difficult. I wasn't the only one to tell him that he was wrong. As I stated, I was pregnant, which means hormonal. I'd had enough, so here's where the malicious compliance comes in. I say, okay, I've had enough of this. Tomorrow is the start of a new month. I haven't gone grocery shopping in a week. Give me $150 in cash and I'll feed us for the month. X goes, really? Okay, I'll bring home the cash tomorrow. I spent the rest of the evening searching for every single coupon I could find. Fun fact, Americans have this system where if you spend a coupon at certain grocery stores, you could buy an item for 10 cents to 50 cents. However, we don't live in the US. Our coupons pale in comparison. I searched for all the deals. I wrote down a list of what we needed, what store had them for what price, and noted if I had a coupon or not. FYI, I generally did something similar to this anyway, but I just expanded my search to a couple extra stores. The following day, when I was given $150 from my ex, I waddled my pregnant butt around 4 different grocery stores, grabbing all the food we normally eat. When I got home, I had spent approximately $145 of our oh-so-generous food budget on the first day of the month. I was proud of myself. I had budgeted so well. I showed my ex-husband all the food I bought and all the receipts. I placed the change in a jar on top of the fridge with the receipts inside. He said I did well and was happy I bought so much for so little. Later on that week, we ran out of milk. Kid has no milk to drink or for his cereal. Out to the store to buy some. A week and a half later, it's getting close to dinner time. X says, "What's for dinner?" I say, "Nothing." He says, "What do you mean nothing? We have plenty of food." I say, "Oh, do we? I didn't realize. What'd you find in the cupboards?" He opens the cupboard doors, fridge, freezer, pantry door. Nothing. There's literally nothing. I say, "Okay, so we have no food in the house. How much money do we have for our food budget?" He empties the jar. 34 cents. That can't be right. I say, "Did you add up the receipts and see if we made a mistake somewhere?" He says, "Okay, I get it. I'll go buy some groceries." And that, my friends, is how you convince your financially anal ex-spouse that their budgeting ideas are out of touch with reality. Sadly, I didn't convince him to increase our food budget back to $600 a month, but he did agree to $500 a month, which I suppose he keeps to this day, despite the fact that it's usually just himself he has to feed. $150 a month for one person seems reasonable, but for a family with 3 and a pregnant mother, I don't think that's doable at all. Honestly, this makes me a little bit concerned about how much I do spend per month on food. Thankfully, I've been comfortable enough to not have to, really worry about it, but people like me probably spend way more than they realize. And it's a little spooky to think about. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.